Hey, y'all, it's your girl, Dr. Rashawn, and I'm back on my channel here to do what I do, talking to y'all. And I want to give a special shout out to everybody who got told on their report cards. These are all of mine from elementary through high school. Back in the day that we were too talkative, because guess what? We were probably disrupting everybody in class then, and we're somewhere still talking to this day. So welcome back, and let's get into it. Now, before we get into the conversation today, if you would like to learn more about who I am, Latia Rashawn, I would like for you to check the description box below. My links are all there to my Shopify, to my blog, to my social media. I want to connect with you, and I hope that you are loving connecting with me. And if you have not already, please like, share, and subscribe so that you can get those notifications when a video is published. But let's go ahead and get into this conversation today. So let's talk about it. How did I get here? How did I decide that I wanted to sit down and give people tips about life? Well, it starts right here with my life. Y'all see this? It's at school days, right? My mom was one of those moms that every little thing that I did was special. Every little thing that I did was important. It had to be clipped. It had to be saved. It had to be put somewhere. And I took this from her a long time ago, probably like back when I had joined the Air Force and I just wanted something from home. And I started looking in my old report cards. And y'all, yes, I'll just go ahead and be clear. I was born in 1981, so yes, I'm an 80s baby. I'm 40. But it is so funny to look back at my report cards and see that all of my teachers said, Latia talks too much. She's a really bright student, but she talks too much. She's a really bright student, but she's a tad bit talkative. And yes, I was talkative, which is why it's funny to me now that I, yes, am in the classroom. I am an educator. I have been in the field of education for 14 years, going on 15. But there was always something about the writing and the words and the reading and just being in a school setting that did it for me. And so it led me into saying, one day, guess what I'm going to do, y'all? I'm going to write a book. Now, I wasn't that excited, going through the process of writing a book. But I did say to myself, hey, girl, we are going to write a book. And I was always writing things down. I was always creating the list and checking them twice. And whether it was a journal, when I was talking about, how upset with my mom that I was at one point, or all my puppy loves and how boy crazy I was and how this boy didn't understand and that boy didn't understand. And then those stories graduated to marriage and how marriage wasn't all that it was cracked up to be at times. And even though I did marry for love, me and that person just was not getting along. So my journals are full of everything. But one thing that I just committed and commuted to memory were all of my experiences when I began my journey into teaching. And baby, when I tell you my truth and the things that I experienced, there were some people saying, hey girl, you making yourself a target, like you're talking about people. No, I'm talking about my experiences with people. And I think sometimes we just get so caught up in that we want to protect things that hurt you, that when you don't talk about those things, somebody else is experiencing what you've experienced. And I have learned that there is power in sharing your story. So I'm going to share with y'all a little bit about me today. Is that okay? So let's backtrack. In 2008, I had been home from the military for a year. I had worked at Department of Human Resources as a child support enforcement agent. Decided that along the way I was going to attend a teacher recruitment fair, attended the fair, submitted my TAP application, and boom, your girl was accepted into the program through the Georgia Teacher Alternative Preparation Program. Now, it's called something else now, but let's just say that for 2 weeks in July, around this time, I was reporting to a local college every day from 8 to 4, and I was learning the initial tips and tools that I would need to be a successful teacher. But I had no pedagogy. So I went into the first day of school like, okay, I know what I learned from these workshops and these seminars, and I have a mentor, and I have this, and I have that. But y'all, let me tell y'all something, okay? Going into the school for the first time, knowing that that was not my background, going into a classroom for the first time, not knowing what to expect, it was an eye opener. And I remember telling my mentor teacher, I think within a month of teaching, I was like, girl, I can't do this. No, 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 no. I'm finna, let me look back into the Air Force Reserves, the Guard, something. Because, baby, this ain't that. Because I'm going to tell y'all, I got cussed out within my first month of teaching. I had a student literally tell me to shut the hell up and get out her face, all because I wanted her to leave my line. Now, I digress. That student, we worked on some things that first year, but it was those experiences like that that teachers really needed to hear. So I decided, after I had been in school and I had been working on advanced degrees, because yes, I do have a doctorate in higher ed leadership and a specialist in curriculum and instruction, I still was just flabbergasted at how often and how quickly education changes in the blink of an eye. So while I was in my program, and it was one of those group projects where you met people from all over, and you know, this person is responsible for this part of the PowerPoint, and this person is responsible for that part of the PowerPoint. I linked with someone in my class who had written a book. She had self-published a book, and I was like, "How do you do that?" Because you know, I was still green about the whole idea of self-publishing. I was still very much green about the whole idea of entrepreneurship. So I had no idea what to do. All I knew is that I had ideas. I had written some stuff out. I had planned a lot of stuff out. I just didn't know my next step. So she was like, "Yeah, girl, you could just do it through Create Space." Now, we all know that Create Space is no longer a platform for self-publishing, and this is not a video about self-publishing. Let me just go ahead and make that clear, okay? This was just a process that I used because I was like, you know what? I've talked about it enough. I'm going to just go ahead and do it. So Create Space, here I come. I'm on the way. And I took off. So for 8 years, okay, I chronicled my very first year of teaching, my second year, some things that I learned, my third year, all the way up until my 8th year. And y'all, it changed so much from year to year, because imagine when I began teaching in 2008, I had only been out of the Air Force for a year. So I was like 26, and I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So I'm trying to learn how to be a teacher by going through seminars and teaching at the same time, and being misunderstood by people around me. So that first year was very, very difficult. I mean, I have flashbacks sometimes, and I'm glad I got through it, and I'm glad I'm still here today. But the reality is, like, at the time when I published my book, I had seen these people, you know, move up into leadership and do other things, and I applaud them greatly. It's just crazy that when I began to express and talked about some of the things that I went through in the very early parts of my career, you know, I did catch the side eye. Okay, it is what it is. If you was there, you was there. If you wasn't there, you probably heard some things. But until you talk to me, baby, you don't know how I felt. And I'll just tell y'all, like, you know, I talk about it in my book, my 4th year in middle school, The Truth About Teaching. My car was stolen, like year 5 of teaching. So when I say a lot of stuff happened, like, who steals a teacher's car? But that wasn't even the sad part. The sad part was I had an administrator who said, "Oh, it's just a simple repossession." Like, my personal trauma, the things that I was going through, was not important enough to like be taken seriously. So when I think about years 1 through 8, it was trial and tribulation. And to be honest, as a teacher, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you speak up, you know, some people think that you're too forceful. If you don't speak up, some people think that you're compliant. Well, I'm neither one. I'm just me. And I've always said one thing about me is that you may not respect how I do what I do as a person, but you will respect who I am as a person. Because one thing that did get me a little bit of leeway is that I was able to produce results from my kids. So, yes, after 8 years, I did it. Okay. Now, the cover has changed a couple of times since its initial release, but my fourth year in middle school, The Truth About Teaching, is 10 chapters of me telling y'all, like, look, teaching is not easy. Look, I went through a divorce while teaching. I had to talk to my folks around me about classroom management because I just didn't know what I was doing at some point. Building relationships is very important, and the list goes on and on. But after I did that, I was like, so if I write a book and I'm still an educator and I have a blog and I'm trying to do all of these things, like, what truly does that make me? Like, what do I call myself? So yeah, I released the book, but then I'm like, okay, so what does that make me? Like, I'm an educator, I'm a mom, and I guess releasing a book or publishing a book goes into the category of entrepreneurship. But like, how do you capitalize on that? I didn't know. So I was like, okay, I have a blog and I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm a blogpreneur. Nope, that didn't sound right. Okay. Okay, I'm a mom and I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm a mompreneur. But then I was like too specific because I didn't want to just be talking to mamas, even though I do talk to a lot of mamas. But I didn't want the mamas to think that this mama had it all the way together. So I'm not a mompreneur, extraordinaire. So now mompreneur ain't gonna work. And then teacherpreneur, like, yeah, I talk about teaching, but then over the years things have progressed, and I wasn't just always talking about like traditional classroom teaching. I began to talk about the things that I'm passionate about, which of course is like goal setting and getting to where you want to go. So teacherpreneur just wasn't the zhush that I needed to just say, whoop, here she go. So then it became eduprenuer because I educate people. I educate people in my classroom, outside of my classroom. I educate people through the things that I write on my blog. I educate people through the things that I've written in my books. And I just educate people just with my message and my presence alone. So I was like, you know what, girl, you are an edupreneur. So that one stuck. That is the best fit for me. So when you hear me say, hey, it's your girl, Dr. Rashawn, your favorite edupreneur and personal transformation mentor, it's because I talk about more than just being in a classroom, because baby, life is also your classroom and you learn lessons along the way. But I digress. We can get into that for another day. I just wanted to give y'all a little bit more back history about my journey and how I ended up here. And baby, I'll be honest with y'all, okay? I will be extremely honest with you all. It has been a lot of trial and error. You feel me? Like, when I sat down in 2016 and I had literally just finished my final report for my dissertation, I had just submitted it and it was approved and I was graduating. I had went to graduation in June 2016 down in Fort Lauderdale. I was sitting at home at my house with one of my good girlfriends and my soror, and we were just talking about like, business things and how to move forward. And I was like, let me edit this book one more time. Baby, that edit turned into published. And next thing the book was out there, it was live. And is it my best work? No, it's not my best work. But it was that one time that I said, you know what, girl, you've released it. Just move forward, and it is what it is. I've had people read the book. They said it's a quick read. I've had people give me criticism about the book. It is what it is, but that's part of life. But what happened is I decided that I was going to take a little bit more ownership of my message and of my voice. I was going to take a little bit more ownership of where I ultimately see myself going. So I decided, after looking on the internet and things, that I would submit a proposal to the Teachers Self-Care Conference. And this was back, like, I submitted the proposal in the summer of 2018, going into the fall of 2018, right when school was getting ready to start. And I was like, I'm gonna just throw it out there, okay? The importance of a mentor your first year of teaching. And I stuck to that because I just know personally like what my mentor was for me. So I was saying to myself, okay, I'm teaching, I'm blogging. I've written a book. I'm going to try getting into public speaking. I'm just trying these things because I feel like there's nothing I can't do if I put my mind to it. And if people like to study science and all that good stuff, yes, I'm a Capricorn. So I was like, I'm going to try. And so I submitted my proposal, and the foundation of it was my book, My Fourth Year Middle School, The Truth About Teaching. But I wanted to talk about, the strength of having a good mentor as a first year teacher. And I was a little nervous because in the same token, I was also working on my second book, 12 Ways to Survive Your First Year Teaching. Now, when I did this one, I wanted to be a little bit more specific for a new teacher, because new teachers are thrown out there, and a lot of times you may have a veteran teacher who will ask you, well, why are you teaching, why are you here, how do you feel about this and how do you feel about that? And then you may have some teachers that come across your path and don't ask you nothing. They just wait for you to fail, and then when you say, hey, I need help, they come to your rescue. Okay, I'm just saying. And so when I got the notification that my proposal had been accepted, I knew I had some months to plan. Okay, so I had, by the time I was notified, I think I may have been notified in the fall. So I had until the following summer, like the June of 2019, to get it together. So I was like, okay, I have this book together. I have the foundation of My Fourth Year Middle School, The Truth About Teaching. And, things are just going to take off, and it's going to become like Latilia Rashawn is really on this journey of growth. Now, have I grown since trying all of these things since 2016? Absolutely. But what I'm here to talk to y'all about is that the things that I'm doing now, the ideas have always been there, but they didn't always just come together like, okay, I did this and I was extremely successful at this level, and then I was extremely successful when I did the second thing. What I'm realizing now is that my voice is what's going to help me get to where I ultimately want to be. So if I can talk about my experiences and I can share life lessons with people, then I'm going to do that. God darn it. And I'm still talking because, I got told when I was in elementary school, baby, Latilia is talkative. And I told y'all last week, I do this because I like to talk to people. So there it is. I'm in your face with it. I like to talk to people, and I like to share my experiences. It's fun. It's entertaining. It is enjoyable. And because I know who I am, and I hope somebody hears my voice and understands who they are is just as important. When you know who you are, can't nobody take that from you. No one can take away me being an eduprenuer from me, because I've had some success in some of the things I've been doing. And being an eduprenuer and talking about personal transformation really makes my heart pound, like skip a beat, like, oh, in your face. I'm here with it. And so I'm entertaining a whole lot of ideas at this point in my life. And I know that the sky's the limit. And I know that I can get to the things that I ultimately want to get to doing. So I'm here, Dr. Latilia Rashawn, your favorite eduprenuer and mentor. I'm a mom. I'm an educator. I'm an entrepreneur. So I said all that to say, shoot for the stars, because you can have everything that you want. Now, if you like more of what I'm saying, I'm going to need for y'all to continue to come back every week, like, share, and subscribe, and check the description box for all the links to my websites and my social media. So this is how I got here. It's your girl. I'm still talking. And if I had to get a conduct grade for life, it would be an N, because Latilia is going to continue to talk. I'll holler at y'all later.